Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about kanji, the basics of kanji, the mechanism of kanji and its history. Particularly I want to emphasize why it is an interesting writing system, an interesting concept, and it's not as boring as people think. It really is a pleasure to learn. So firstly, here we have in the red kanji, kan, coming from the Kan Ocho, the Han dynasty of China, pronounced kan in Japanese rather than Han because of the way Japanese was pronounced at the time it was introduced. There's the kan for the Kan Ocho, the Han dynasty, and ji, meaning a letter or a character. So the basics of kanji, the history and the mechanisms. Let's continue. I'm going to be talking about the origin of kanji, different types of kanji, the mechanisms of kanji, how they are made, how they work together, and the history of kanji in Japan a little bit. I'm talking about kanji from the Japanese context, so I will be using the Japanese pronunciation of words, not Chinese. So, the origins of kanji. Let's go back to Densetsujo no Soketsu. So, Soketsu. Okay, Densetsujo means legendary. Soketsu is the name of a legendary man. So, according to Chinese legend, during the time of Ko-te, the legendary Yellow Emperor, at least prehistoric times, I suppose we can say, he had an advisor named Soketsu. Soketsu, this is his name here. This Ketsu kanji is, well, very, very rare in Japanese. And if you look at the picture of Soketsu I have here, he's a little bit of an unusual fellow because he has 4 eyes. So it really gives away that he's a legendary character because I've never seen anybody with 4 eyes. So according to the legend, Soketsu was looking at animal tracks, and he realized if he could look at the tracks and tell which animals had been there, he could make marks to communicate language, basically. So independent of other writing systems, he invented kanji, according to legend, of course. Like his 4 eyes, he probably didn't exist. So, the first kanji comes from the In Ocho. This character means in, which in English we call the Shang dynasty of China, or the Shou Ocho. And this character Shou is apparently what they used to refer to themselves as, and in modern Japanese it refers to a merchant or commerce. So a shonin, so is a merchant, and the In Ocho people, the Shang dynasty people, developed Ko Kotu Moji. Ko is a shell, Kotu is bone, the onyomi, the Chinese reading, the Japanese reading would be hone, and moji is writing. So, Ko Kotu Moji means tortoise, so kame, or tortoise, kame no kora. Kora is a tortoise shell. Okay, or dobutsu no hone. Dobutsu, moving thing, is an animal. Dobutsu no hone is a bone, or kotu is the Chinese reading. And it was used for divination, uranai, or boxen, a few words for divination. So they would write on the bone or the shell that heated on a fire, and where the cracks appeared was where the messages were being sent, and an expert would interpret them, and that was how they conducted divination at the time. Kokotu moji as the oldest evidence for kanji. So, kanji no kosei, the makeup of kanji. We have a few different types of kanji. The most well-known that everybody is aware of is the shoke moji. Shoke means shape, moji means character. So here are a few examples. We have this one here. If we look at this as a head, these are fins. This is a fish. Originally it looked a lot more like a fish, but over time it became a bit more abstract. Next to that we have ki, or tree. So yeah, sakana, or fish, and ki, or tree. These are again the Japanese names. After that we have kai moji. So kai means to meet, I means meaning, to think, moji, these two together mean character. So if we look here, we have two examples. Up here we have a tree. In our shoke moji section below we have two trees. Hayashi, or rin is its onyomi reading. It's a scrub. Next to it we have 1, 2, 3 key characters, trees. So 3, 1 more than 2. We have a forest. This 3 represents a lot, so there's a forest, mori, or rin. Shin is the onyomi of mori, but yeah, so 3 represents a forest. There's kai moji, so 2 meanings come together to make a new meaning. So 2 trees make a scrub, 3 trees make a forest. Underneath that we have shiji moji. So this character means yubi, or finger, to point. This character also means to point, shiji moji. And here we have a little bit abstract pictures to represent abstract ideas. So we have ue and shita, above, below. Okay, so things we can't clearly show with pictures, we've got a simple diagram type shijimoji. Underneath them we have ke se moji. Ke means shape, se means sound, and moji. So the makeup of these, we have one part, in this case the left hand side, both of these kanji, which give us an indication of the meaning of the kanji, and the right hand side, which has nothing to do with the meaning, but it tells us or gives us a clue to the pronunciation in Chinese. In this case it's ko, and the two the 3 things, sorry I'm not good at math, but the 3 side parts, that's called the sanzui, 3 water drops. So whenever we have that, we have something to do with water. So in this case it's an inlet. And next to it we have another 3, which is ro, or nami, and this is a wave. Again, this part here tells us it's pronounced as raw, and this part here gives us an indication it has something to do with water. And this one means wave. Underneath, last one, we have tenimoji, and these are characters where the meaning has changed or been transferred to something else. An example would be raku, or gaku, tanoshi, so fun or enjoyable, and ongaku, music. Okay, so music is enjoyable, it's come to mean a variety of things. And next to it is e, or hanabusa. Its original reading, it's a bunch of flowers. It's also come to mean a hero, or something to do with the English language. Okay, so koku means England, ego means the English language of this character here. Okay, so bushu, bu means part, and shu means neck, chief, or head. Okay, so bushu, the main components of kanji, or the radicals as we sometimes call them too. You have the left-hand side, and some examples would be michi or door, so street or road. Here we have, in this one, if we look, we can see the same head, the kubi, or shu from a bushu, and this side part here, which is called shinyo, indicates anything to do with travel or a road. So this is an interesting case because, so I said this means head or neck. It's generally used to mean neck, but after battles, when they inspected heads taken off enemies, they used this character to describe the severed heads. So why this with shinyo on the side to mean road? That's a question with a lot of speculation. One is that according to ancient Chinese folklore, if you were traveling in distant lands, you should carry the severed head of an enemy to ward off evil spirits. Or because this means leader, shusho, like a prime minister, it could just mean head walking down the road, as in a procession, a little bit less violent or fanciful. Next to that we have again sansui, indicating water, and this one here meaning dragon. Dragon and water. It means a waterfall, taki, waterfall. Underneath we have kanmuri, with crown, or kashira, meaning head. The top part of a kanji, and in this case we have this here. This is called kusa kanmuri. It's called kanmuri meaning crown. Kusa kanmuri because this character is kusa meaning grass. If we take away the crown, it means early. But with the crown, kusa kanmuri, crown, it means grass. This kusa kanmuri is used to indicate anything that is a plant. So if you see that, you know it's probably a plant. Underneath here we have the tsukuri, the right hand side of a kanji. So here we have two very similar looking kanji. One has tree as its left hand side radical, its hen, and the other has our shinyo. So this is pronounced to. It has a ki here, a tree, which means it has something to do with a tree or a plant. In this case, it means momo, or peach. Next to it, we have the shinyo, indicating a road or travel. In this case, again, it's pronounced to, but it means nigeru, to escape. Okay. Underneath, we have the ashi, the legs of a kanji, and I've chosen here to show one called sha, or niru, meaning to boil. So if we look at these three legs underneath, they're called rekka. They indicate a fire. In this case, we have a pot being boiled, and the kanji represents to boil. So it's a nice easy example. And at the very bottom, we have kanai. Kanai. And an example here, I have the character kuni, or koku, meaning country. And its bushu here is called kuni gamai. So kuni gamai is the kanai surrounding the character for country, kuni. Right, so note on hiragana, katakana. Everybody knows the famous Japanese alphabetical or syllabaric systems. They're developed from kanji, and I think that's important. They're not invented, they're developed from kanji. I think it was a natural process. They developed from kanji. So kanji was originally read in Chinese, or used to represent Japanese sounds. So famous case, the Manyogana script. Manyogana is the name given to the kanji used in the Manyoshu, Japan's oldest collection of poetry, waka poems, 575, 77 syllables mainly. So Manyogana would just take a kanji with a sound for a Japanese word and use it to represent that word. It's Manyogana. So it takes a lot of strokes to write kanji, so it was quite natural that they would be written in a shorter form. And the two independent forms developed. One was hiragana, with a shorthand writing for kanji, especially for waka poems. Wa meaning Japanese and ka meaning uta or song. So Japanese songs, Japanese poems. As I mentioned before, in Japan's oldest collection of poetry, the Manyoshu, the majority were written in the 5-7-5-7-7 syllable system, and that is the typical waka. Very important in old Japanese history. In fact, courting was done by exchanging waka poems before anybody met face to face. So it's natural that they should need to be written in an easy, quick manner, which is where hiragana developed. Katakana developed in a similar way, mainly as a form of kanji for monks to study okyo or sutras. So okyo, the Buddhist sutras, they come from India. In Japan, they're generally from the Sanskrit language, and they are not translated, but they're transliterated into Chinese in China. So they're just given kanji to represent their sounds. So when they made it to Japan, the monks are studying them. They used katakana as a shorthand way to write notes about them. And we can see here how this has happened. Is just a very clear example, one of the best, I think. So the hiragana form, you can see it's just a very short form of the kanji form I. Not very common these days, other than to represent Italy, funny enough, or the katakana I. Same sound, but in this case they've just taken the hen from the character to make the sound. So, onyomi. Onyomi meaning Chinese readings, or at least Chinese readings in a Japanese pronunciation, versus kunyomi. Kunyomi meaning native Japanese or Yamato kotoba, wago, different names for it, versus ateji, kanji that are just assigned. So, different types of onyomi. In the yellow, first we have special type koon, the oldest readings were not used anymore. This is typically what they would find in old sword blades excavated from Kofun tombs and whatnot, the very oldest examples of any kind of writing in Japan. So of course it changed over time, they became obsolete. But these days we have mainly three different types of onyomi readings. We have Goon from the kingdom of Go in China, Wu, or the kingdom of Wu in its English pronunciation. These typically came to Japan via the Korean peninsula, and they mostly used for Buddhism related words, at least the earliest forms of Buddhism that came to Japan. Kanon, same as kanji, this kan from the Han dynasty is the most common, and slightly later, probably from the Kamakura period onwards, when Zen Buddhism came to Japan, we have To-on, or tongue. To is a Tang dynasty, To-on. Mostly Zen-related words came. So, little example down the bottom, there's three kanji combinations. In the different readings, we have Gyoko. Gyoko is a very old word that refers to a trip out for a king or emperor with his entourage. In this case, it's Kogyo. So it's Gyo. Okay. sorry, ko. Gyoko, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Gyoko. Next we have a common modern Japanese word, kodo, meaning one's actions to do something. Kodo, so ko, to go, and do, movement. And the very last one, slightly rarer word, we have angya. Angya, so totally different. And this is a to-on that came to Japan with the Zen Buddhism. The angya means to travel from country to country preaching Buddhism, basically. That comes from Zen Buddhism. So Gyo, Ko, An, three different readings. Gyoko, Kodo, Angya. Okay. So kunyomi, the native Japanese readings. So these developed from the practice of adding native Japanese names to the equivalent Chinese character, bypassing the phonetic Chinese transliteration. So we talk about the Manyoshu, the very earliest collection of Japanese poetry. In this case, if you look at an example, we have Yama, mountain, versus Ya-ma, representing sounds, no relation to meaning. So Ya, night, but Ya, reading, and Ma, hemp, but Ma, reading, Yama. It's complex, so it was much easier just to start reading this in a native Japanese style instead of just transliterating it. So that was where kunyomi first came from, and these days we can often tell kunyomi by the presence of furigana we have here, indicating what comes after, how a verb changes. It is often used with verbs or adjectives. In this case, here we have iku, to go, or okonao, to administer. Okay, so different verbs using the same kanji, but our furigana give us an idea. Underneath here we have some ateji. The ateji where things get really difficult and they're a bit of a free-for-all. So this character here, this means silver, gin, and this means a cure, or anzu, the type of Chinese plant that's eaten. And together they mean icho, which is the name of a tree. It has no relation to any of this. It's just been given to it. Next we have tombo, dragonfly. And if we were to read these using the Chinese readings, we would have sere, which is not how it's said. It's tombo, so it's an ateji. And lastly, typically when we have two kanji together, they are read in the onyomi, the Chinese reading. But there are some exceptions. They are jubakoyomi, in which case we have an onyomi first and then a kunyomi reading after, so jubako, or yuto yomi. In this case we have yu, a native Japanese reading kunyomi, and to, a Chinese reading onyomi. So kanji compounds, jukugo, so where we get more complex words, and it can be really interesting. We have niji, two character jukugo, so niji jukugo. Of course, we also have sanji jukugo. I haven't put any here, but we do, that they exist. These are really interesting. So I've chosen three interesting examples. One is mujun, which means a contradiction, or to contradict. The first character means hoko, or spear. The second character is jun, or shield. So spear and shield, meaning to contradict. The story goes that in ancient China, a merchant was selling a spear and a shield, and his line was that the spear will pierce any shield, and the shield will resist any spear. So somebody asked him, what if you jam this spear into the shield? What happens? And he had nothing to say. His sales pitch was a contradiction, is where the word contradiction comes from, mujun. Next we have da soku. Da, heavy, snake, and soku, legs. Da soku, to put legs on a snake. This means to do something useless or to make something worthless by doing too much to it. So the story goes, again, that in ancient China, a group of men had some leftover alcohol after giving offerings to the gods, but it wasn't enough for all of them. So they said, we need to settle who gets to drink it. So we'll play a game. Whoever can draw a snake in the sand fastest can drink the sake, the alcohol. One man finished very quickly, and then, laughing at the others, he proceeded to draw legs on his snake. To which one of them replied, well, a snake does not have legs, therefore you did not win, so you're a loser. I'll have the sake, the wine. So dasoku. And the last one is kiyu. Kiyu. This ki is a very rare character. It represents an old Chinese, very small old Chinese country where the people were, by all accounts, a little bit useless because they were afraid of the sky falling. Yu means a lament, feelings of helplessness or sadness or many different things, bad feelings. So these people had a fear of the sky falling. So kiyu means to worry unnecessarily about something. In this case, the sky falling, which sounds a lot like old story in English about the sky falling. And the last one we have yoji jukugo, 4 character combinations, yoji jukugo, and these are endless. They can be difficult, but they are extremely interesting, and I've chosen just a few that I really like. So because I like history and I like old literature and things, we have dokusho shoyu, doku, to read, sho. Modern Japanese means to write, but in this case it just means a document, so to read document. By the way, dokusho is the most common word used to describe reading as a hobby in modern Japanese. It's important to note that whenever we have phrases coming from old Chinese into Japanese, you typically have verb followed by object, taking on the Chinese grammar pattern, not the Japanese, in which the verb would be last. So the verb doku, to read, which is yomimasu in modern Japanese, and sho, to read something. Sho means to be like, and yu means a friend. Dokusho shoyu. It refers to becoming acquainted with ancient writers, philosophers, and the like being friends with them through their reading. Similar to this, here we have kojin no. We can add the particle no for possessive. Kojin no sohaku. Sohaku together means sediment, like sake, rice, wine sediment, or beer sediment, or whatever, sitting at the bottom. And the kojin means old people. Gee, kojin so, that's probably could also be written. I think there's actually a mistake there, so I'm going to quickly try and change that. I think it should really be this ko. not that. So Kojin Sohaku. Back to my point too. Yeah, it should really be Kojin Sohaku. So the sediment of the old people comes from a story that when we look at classic literature, we really don't know anything about what the people are really trying to say. They're long gone. All we can really look at is their sediment, which I find really interesting. It's like describing language archaeology. So, and I often think about this one when I hear debates about Bible issues and whatever else. I think it's Kojin no Sohaku. It's just sediment of old people we can't know. Another one here we have Koku Shu Ku Ken. Koku, to carve. Shu means a boat. Ku means to search for. And Ken means a sword. So, to carve on the boat, search for the sword. The story goes that while crossing a river, a man dropped his sword from the boat into the river. So he dropped his sword, so he carved a notch into the boat at the point where he dropped the sword, saying he will come back and find the sword later. But of course, a boat on a river is moving, so he can never come back and expect to find the sword. Kokushu Kyuken is used to describe sticking to outdated ideologies. So the world is constantly moving. We can't stick to these old ideas and expect a good result. And a very similar meaning, and another good one that I find quite amusing, Shushu Taito. Shu means to protect. Shu, the same pronunciation, Shushu. In this case, Kabu is the kunyomi. Mamoru, to protect, is the kunyomi of the shu. So Shushu, to protect a stump. This is a stump. Shushu. Tai means to wait. And to means a rabbit. Taito, to wait for a rabbit. So to protect the stump, wait for the rabbit. The story goes that while working in the fields, a rabbit ran into a stump, broke its neck. The farmer had a rabbit for dinner. He was very happy, and he spent the rest of his life guarding that stump, neglecting his work in the fields and being laughed at by his neighbors. So a similar idea, to expect something that's never going to happen again to happen. Often, if you don't know the stories behind these, they don't make a lot of sense, but that does make them really interesting. So these last two I have here, Goetsu Do Shu. So it's the same shu meaning boat. Go is the name of old Chinese country, and if you saw our types of onyomi, we had go on. This is the same go. I think a wu in English, and etsu is another ancient Chinese country. It's yue in English. The go and etsu were neighbors who did not get along. They famously did not get along. Do here means the same. Do onaji is the modern Japanese word, same, and boat. So go etsu, do shu, the people of, or somebody from go, somebody from etsu on the same boat. It means that enemies put together in a difficult situation have to cooperate. So, interesting idea, I think. And the last one, again, from the same Goetsu, these two countries, example, we have Gashin Shotan. Ga means to lie. Not to lie, to lie down. Okay, to lie down, to recline. Gashin, shin means firework. Firewood. Again, we have a kusakanmuri, so we know it's got to do with vegetation, but shin meaning firewood, or takigi is the kunyomi, to lie down on firewood. Sho, nameru, to lick, and tan comes from the word tano, meaning a gallbladder, to lick gallbladder. So, from the episode of the Goetsu countries, country of Go and the country of Etsu, the country of Go was first defeated, the king was killed, and the king's son, for many years, would lie down, sleep on a pile of firewood to remember to get revenge against the kingdom of Etsu. Eventually he did, and he made the king of Etsu his slave. The king of Etsu complied and did everything right, but in secret he would lick Namiru Shaw, lick a gallbladder. A dried one, of course. I'm sure it wasn't fresh, it was a dried one. So the bitterness would remind him to get his revenge on the king of Go, or Wu, which eventually he did, and this king of Wu had to commit suicide as a result. Gashin Shotan. So a bit like the Count of Monte Cristo, to inflict pain or discomfort upon oneself, to remember one's desire for revenge. I find that a very interesting concept. Of course, if you don't know the story, this doesn't make any sense, even if you can read the kanji. So these really do take some studying, but they are interesting. And of course, because they're difficult, they feel more rewarding when you actually remember them. So those are some of my favorites. So lastly, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little video. If you're interested, please come back and listen to something else. Thank you very much.